Hi, everyone. Steve Adubato. We're about to have an important and compelling conversation about families who are dealing with family members with autism or developmental disabilities. And we're joined by two experts on the topic. First one I know really well, Michele Adubato, the Chief Executive Officer of the Northward Center and the founder of the Center for Autism, and Jonathan Seifried, who's Assistant Commissioner of the Division of Developmental Disabilities in the state of New Jersey. Their respective websites will be up. Michele and Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
No problem.
Michele, you and I have had many offline. Michele is my sister, and the Northward Center, founded by our dad back in 1970, and the Northward Center, a longtime underwriter of our programming. Michele, we've had a lot of offline conversations about this. I want to start on this topic. Give advice to people watching right now who in real time may be experiencing seeing a child, a teenager, someone who's dealing with someone with autism or developmental disability. It's happening in public, and you want to do the right thing, and you don't know what the heck that is. We often look away, divert our eyes, ignore it. Talk to us, because Michele's been an expert and an advocate for many, many years, for a long time. You made a face about being an expert, but
the experts are the people we work with. They teach us, right, Jonathan?
Absolutely.
Give advice to the rest of us.
Okay. So there's two really pivotal moments when a family member, when someone has autism, and for a family. The first pivotal moment is that aha moment when your child is diagnosed with autism, and it is a gut-wrenching situation. And I think that's across the board. When you finally realize, and they're being diagnosed, that my life is going to be different, because your life is certainly different when you have a child with autism. That's number one. Then the child goes through, okay, you're there, you're going through the school system, and then there's that other pivotal moment when the child graduates. And then they go from being in a mandatory situation, for the most part, to a situation in an adult service provider.
Graduates from what?
From whatever school system they were in, graduating in different ways, but usually graduating at 21, usually. And now they go into the adult world provider system, and that's where DDD comes in. And it is, what a change, right, Jonathan? What a change.
Absolutely.
So DDD is, excuse me, the Division of Developmental Disabilities. Jonathan, as the website comes up, and I know you and Michele have worked together, and you work with organizations across this state, you and your team. As the website comes up, describe exactly what the Division of Developmental Disabilities is in the state of New Jersey, and the role you have in helping family members and individuals with developmental disabilities / autism, please.
Certainly, and thank you for the question. So the Division of Developmental Disabilities in New Jersey, we provide supports and services to about 28,000 adults in New Jersey throughout the state. And those range from people living at home with their families, on their own in a supported apartment, or in a, what would we term a group home license setting in New Jersey. And the services and supports we provide are pretty run a spectrum. We have employment and day services that occupy a person during the day, to in-home supports like a respite or other more consistent supports in the family home, to group homes with 24-hour supervision.
Michele, in following up what Jonathan just said, you told our producers in leading up to this program that for someone with a developmental disability, someone with autism, getting a job is important, but there's something more important than that, which is what?
Well, I think when we look at employment, we have to look at the full spectrum perspective. Meaning, you have to remember that autism is a spectrum. So just if you've met an autistic person today, you met that person today. That's not the same as somebody else you're going to meet. Autism is varied. And there's so many variations in that, whether it's cognitive functioning, whether it's, a higher functioning autism. So there's a huge spectrum. And, if employment makes sense for that individual, and that's the end goal for that individual, that's what should be pursued. But employment isn't always the option. And sometimes, what we run, one of the reasons why I left the school system.
Well, hold on, Michele, take a step back. Describe the role in the school system
Okay,
before.
so I ran what we call, this is way back when, before it became popular, school to adulthood, transition from school to adulthood. And that's when I really got my education from what it's like to go from school to adulthood.
For someone with autism.
Yes, absolutely. So a typical situation would be, okay, let's say a person that does not have a disability. You go to high school, maybe you go to a guidance counselor, right? And maybe you'll go to college, and maybe you'll do this, and maybe you do that. That's different for someone with a disability. So someone with a disability should be getting what we call transition services. And those services should start many years prior to graduation. And the idea is that we're transitioning our adults or students with autism into the world of this adult world, which is not an easy transition. So I ran that for many years. And one of the reasons why I left the school system is that I felt that my services were needed elsewhere. And it certainly was in the world of the adult world for people with autism, because there was little or nothing there. And, and DDD, the program that I found at the Center for Autism, is adult services, period. That's what we do.
Let's break those down. Assistant Commissioner, describe those services, and then I'll come back to Michele.
Certainly. Well, the Division of Developmental Disabilities, we really support individuals 21 and older. But we work very closely with the school system, the Department of Children and Families as well. So as young as age 14, someone in the school system can access through the Division of Vocational and Rehabilitation Services, pre-employment transitional services.
Be specific.
Certainly. Well, as Michele so eloquently stated, autism on the spectrum. So pre-employment, transition services are on a spectrum as well. They're catered to the individual and their abilities. So they could, be more advanced, if that's the term to use, than maybe somebody with a more in-depth disability. But New Jersey, since 2012, has been an employment-first state. And what that means is the preferred post-education outcome is employment for individuals in New Jersey, even people with disabilities. And we're very careful on the word on using the word post-education, because we're not saying that people with disabilities, including autism, can't go on to higher education. Autism is a spectrum. We have individuals who have a lot of abilities and don't need a lot of supervision, and work just like you and I do, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Then I want to be clear. If people go on the website of DDD, Division of Developmental Disabilities, will those services be listed?
Absolutely. We have 2 waiver programs at the division, the supports program and the community care program, and both have a very similar set of services. The main difference between the two is the community care program offers a more residential component than the support.
Go ahead, Michele.
Stephen, and sorry, Jonathan, we're Italian. We interrupt because it's what we do. Did you see how hard that was, Stephen, though? You're kind of but wait a minute, but this system, and it's not, this is the way it works. This system is very difficult to navigate. You have to have organizations like the Center for Autism and support coordinators. You cannot navigate the system on your own. Parents cannot navigate the system.
So say you're a parent or a grandparent, which you are.
No.
Okay. So, Michele, play this out.
Yeah.
And if, again, you choose not to talk about it, it's your business.
Yeah.
But you've talked about your grandson.
Yes.
And Sebastian, who is dealing with autism.
Yes.
Who has autism. What would happen for Sebastian if you did not have, and again, forget about calling you an expert, you know what, that's fine. But you know how to, quote, navigate the system. If you were not in the mix, describe what his parents, the family, and he would be facing?
I'm going to tell you that I do have obviously extensive autism experience. So does his mother, who's a social worker or child study team member. So does his other grandmother. I mean, and we have a hard time. Okay. So we're having a difficult time right now. Sebastian is 7 and we're fighting for more inclusive services within the public school system. It's not easy. But we're, continuing to fight for that. So when I look at Sebastian, who's 7, who, by the way, is a great swimmer, I taught him how to swim last summer. And now he's just like, as he says, I'm a fish. And he wouldn't come out of the pool on Sunday. But it's very difficult. And when we look at his future, because we always have to look at the future, Sebastian is probably someone, he's got a pretty, high IQ for, he's got around 95 IQ. But he's got serious behaviors. He's got serious OCD. And that's impeding his ability to do better in school. The idea is that it would work where Sebastian gets those supports. Any parent will tell you it's not an easy approach, meaning the idea is that when an adult goes into the world of adult services, that they would get those services. This is an entitlement program. You don't have to get it. What does that mean? No one's going to come and tell you like, hey, guess what? You can. So
what advice do you have for parents watching right now?
My advice is make sure that you connect. Like your school system should have a transition, what we call a transition coordinator. Okay. And you need to be on their back. Okay? When your child is 14, 15, 16, don't wait until they're 21, because now you're behind the 8 ball. Now you're behind, because you can actually sign up, Jonathan. I don't sign up for services, a little prior to graduation. Okay. So get that ball rolling. That's why places like the Center for Autism, they are so important, because we advocate for those parents.
Jonathan, are there other organizations? I remember Michele, when her team founded the Center for Autism, I wasn't sure how many other organizations, not-for-profit organizations, were similar or doing some similar kinds of things. Is that the exception, Jonathan, from your state perspective, or are there more and more organizations like that?
There are a plethora of organizations in New Jersey that help individuals with disabilities, including autism. Yes, we have Autism New Jersey, the ARC of New Jersey. They actually help us with our one of our Transition to 21 programs. There is the Siblings Network. It's a national, the Sibling Leadership Network.
Are you saying there's enough? Here's really where my question's coming from. Do you believe there are enough outside of state support, outside of what the local school system is doing? Do you believe there are enough independent, not-for-profit organizations doing what the Center for Autism does?
No, in the context of that question, in terms of getting support, I think
and advocacy.
Yeah, support and advocacy. A lot of, as Michele, I think could attest, it's the community around you as well. And I know the North Ward Center does just amazing things in the Newark area. And I was at an event that they had a year or two ago and met Sebastian. And it's those sorts of grassroots things that really help, because it's really the community, whether it be faith-based organizations, a local chapter of the ARC, et cetera. So I think the more interest we can get from those local organizations, because that's who families trust. They trust who they know, who they respect. Having a state website is a wonderful thing. We love getting information out, but we want to make sure people are out.
Well, Michele, no one's knocking on your door saying we're here to help you.
Right. And Jonathan has the point. The point is DDD is there. Okay. I don't think it's DDD's responsibility at this point to go. We need, as Jonathan said, our nonprofits that are there, we need to be better educated. It just so happens that I do understand it because I came from it. And that's, again, why I left, is to advocate, especially for our urban community, who really always gets, stuck with the worst. And there really are very, there's not too many services in the city of Newark for people with autism. So I'm so happy that we're here. DDD, we wouldn't be here without DDD. Okay. And I want people to understand that
you mean funding what?
100%. We would not be here if it wasn't for
the state didn't support
If the state
Not-for-profits?
and believe me, we go through much, a serious licensing procedure. We would not have our group, or now going on our second, I don't even like to call it a group home, our second Hope House without DDD. Okay.
Hope House is what?
want
Give 30
people-
seconds on Hope House. Not everybody knows what it is.
Hope House is one of the first homes for people with autism, permanent homes for young women. We are now in the process of opening up our second home in the city of Newark, which we love, about a couple of blocks away from us. And it really, and that's, I think, Jonathan, that's what Jonathan wants. That's what DDD wants. They want to take, and by the way, DDD is tremendously supportive of us, and we thank them for that.
And other nonprofits.
Absolutely. But we have to understand and be realistic to say how hard. I don't know how you take a situation with DDD, and I don't want to get it muddled, and DVR. The problem is there is a tremendous problem with trying to navigate a system that you cannot do without people who understand.
Michele, by the way, people go onto the Center for Autism site. I want to be
Yep.
clear, you're geographically based in Newark, not
Yes.
a statewide organization, meaning statewide support and services. But what can they find out there on that website, Michele?
What they can find out is how to navigate a system. And if you want services for your child who's over, who has now graduated, we're the place to be. We're totally packed. We've got a waiting list, but we're actually expanding within the next year because of the need.
Jonathan, final words?
Certainly. Well, I'd like to add, as Michele stated, education is key here and really understanding the system. So we have an Office of Transition to Adult Life and Employment that offers to all of our 600 school districts resource days and different topic on various topic areas. And we also have an Office of Education on self-directed services to help educate families and individuals so they can make informed decisions.
Jonathan, thank you. Michele, thank you. On the back end of this, there's going to be a compelling conversation with a parent dealing directly with the challenges that Michele and Jonathan described down in Philadelphia. And he'll speak for a lot of folks, add on to Michele's personal experiences as well. Michele and Jonathan, thanks so much. We'll continue the conversation.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 30 years in public broadcasting. Funding has been provided by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, Hackensack Meridian Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, New Jersey Institute of Technology, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, Wells Fargo, New Jersey's Clean Energy Program, New Jersey Children's Foundation, and by the Fidelco Group. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ, and by New Jersey Monthly.
Hi, I'm Abby. You might see me as an ordinary person, but I've been living with a brain injury since 2018. Opportunity Project gave me hope, and I've gained confidence through job skill training and helping my family. Despite my challenges with memory, I see a possibility to keep improving.
If you have a brain injury, you don't have to face your road to recovery alone. Learn more about Opportunity Project and its partnership with Children's Specialized Hospital.